Here's a quick video showing you how to use the Synapse components. First of all, fire up Grasshopper. Let me just resize the Rhino windows so that I can see them. Okay, first of all, let's build the parametric model. Let's start with the circle. Here, let me offset it a few times, or rather just create a few circles of different radii. I can just copy that one here. So if I change the domain, change the steps, you can see how that changes the different circles. And now let's create the loft components. Eventually we're lofting through these circles. And as a test, let's try to put in a couple options for the lofting type. So we can use a filter, that way we can control it with a toggle. Now let's move the circles up and down so that we can see the differences in the shape that is being lofted. Using a range and the sine component to make these z-axis undulations. And of course I need to get rid of the 0 value so that I don't get any errors. Because at radius 0, that first circle won't be a valid circle. Okay, it looks good how it changes. Let's put in the loft. And we can get the bake component from Elephant. Put in a text string for the object name. Click bake. There we have the object. Doesn't seem like the name is working correctly. I just might have to do it through the actual attributes of the object rather than the name. Yeah, it's not there. Define object attributes. Here, that one has a name. Let's use the name string in the n, and then use the attributes rather than the n on the bake. Let's see if that works. Okay, that registered with the name. So now if I toggle it, it should be straight sections. Yeah, I'll have to change that to 3. So now it's actually the straight section loft. If I click bake, I can see the seams, of course. So we have a working parametric model of this washer looking object. So let's see how we can translate all these into the Synapse components and make a graphic user interface out of this. So all these are inputs I need to isolate, and then let's just select all the model, the generative model to the side, and then make the GUIs. So for the text string, I'll need a Synapse text box. And then the button, another value query. For the toggle, it would be the checkbox. And for the number sliders, we can use actually 2 of the components. One of them is the numeric up-down, and the other is the slider. So you can find all of those in the ribbon, of course. course, get the value queries to be listening to those components. Now here's the step to set the actual properties of those graphic user interface elements. So I need to make this into a list. I want to set the max value and the minimum value of the numeric up-down. So let's put the two numbers there, start from 1 and then go up to 10. And I want my sliders to have the same bounds, so just use the same parameters. And then for the checkbox, I just for now want to set a name for the checkbox, so I want to use a text as the property name. And then for the value, let's say straight. If I have it checked, it would be a straight loft. And also text works for button as well. I need a name for the button. It would just be called bake. And for the text box, I need to label it, of course. Let's see, we should call this the object name text box. Still, text is the property to set, and then for the value, let's say object name. And I'm putting all the controls aligned in this column here. And that one needs a query object. So instead of linking it straight to the component, we need to query the value. Okay, now yes, let's merge all of them together into one list. That way you will see just in a minute it would be placed in a container. Much easier. I'm ordering them because I want a grid of controls. So let's see, let's flatten all of these so that we don't get any data mapping errors. Okay, let's drop a table XY dimension component to help me dimension these things. I'll use the Synapse table. So it would put the 6 different controls into a grid of 2 by 3s, 2 columns and 3 rows. And then of course I'm feeding everything into the main window. Instead of a toggle, I'd like to use a value list for the true and false. Because that way I can do a value cycle. This way I can go a single click would trigger it. You can see I set it to show, so it's already showing it. And of course the size, I didn't bother to set the correct size, so it's filling up the window. Alright, let's set a couple of properties for my window. I want my what can we set? You can always go to the A output on these component and take a look at the properties that we can set. Same thing with the all the other Synapse controls. So for example, the checkbox, you can see you can set font, tag, size, and all of those. Some of them are more relevant, some of them are less so, unless you're actually programming the component yourself. Let's see, I want to probably set the title and a topmost property. Actually, let's match the case. Lowercase m, okay. And then for the 2 values, first title, let's just put in the string, command center. And then for the topmost, because it takes a boolean, I'll just use a toggle right here and say true. So, and then merge the values into a single list. And then put it into the values input. And then it should be set. We have these controls. Let's just manually size it to a more sensible scale. Of course, those things you can set up by the properties. I'm skipping those for now. Okay, sometimes if the value isn't listening, make sure you relink it. Still not changing. Yeah, the values are flipped. The max should be 10. Max value should be 10. The minimum should be 1. Okay, of course I have to restart this for it to take effect. Make sure the query is listening. I think now I can change those numbers. If I slide across, change the up-down ticker. Okay, if I click straight, alright. Let's put test 0 and try to bake this one. Okay, seems to be working smooth. The name is test 0 straight. Change this a little bit smaller. Test 1 bake. Alright, so yeah, I think the Synapse components are working now.